Okay.
All right.
Okay. Well, we'll open in brief word of prayer. Heavenly Parent, I thank you for this time together, time of discussing um, the last meal that your son Jesus ate with the disciples, and to talk about how Jesus embodied both humility and power during this time. May our discussion be fruitful and rich. In your many names I pray. Amen.
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 All right, so I'm going to share my screen because I have a slide presentation to go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Yeah, there we go. Move back. Don't give it away too soon. All righty. So hopefully you can see the whole screen.
Ken.
Okay, great. And so, of course, this is tied in with our theme that we've been using throughout Lent, everything in between, meeting God in the midst of extremes. And this week, the focus will be on power and humility. And we'll be discussing the Last Supper, the last meal that Jesus ate with the disciples. And this is based on Luke 22, verses 1 through 27. And just to give you a few little tidbits about the Last Supper. Of course, as I said, this is the last meal that Jesus shared with the disciples before his crucifixion. It took place during the week of Passover, after Jesus's triumphant entry into Jerusalem. The accounts of the Last Supper um, appear in the Synoptic Gospels, which is Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And of course, we've talked about synoptic before, meaning that they are same or, well, not same, but similar. Um, and John, out of the four Gospels, is kind of an outlier. Um, and so the Last Supper established what is called the Eucharist or the Lord's Supper or communion, which is one of the sacraments of the church. Um, and another thing about the Last Supper is that it foreshadows Jesus' betrayal by one of the disciples. And in the Gospel of John, from chapter 13 through 17, the Last Supper is presented differently. It's presented as a meal with the disciples, but it also includes where Jesus washes the feet of the disciples. And there's also a whole series of conversations that Jesus has with the disciples. Um, the difference between John and the other gospels that it doesn't include, the words of institution, take, eat, take, drink, take and drink. Um, and the focus in John's gospel is on where Jesus is speaking about love and service, and he is preparing the disciples for life after he is gone from this earth physically. And 1 Corinthians chapter 11 also includes an account of the Last Supper, and it does include the words of institution. So I know you may be familiar with that, the painting by Leonardo da Vinci of the Last Supper, which is pictured here. And that Da Vinci painted this. It's really a mural, and he painted it between over time between 1495 and 1498. So it was not done all at one time. The painting is actually in the dining hall or refectory of the convent of Santa Maria delle Grazie, which is in Milan, Italy. And in Da Vinci's painting, it depicts the Last Supper from the Gospel of John. And it's showing the reaction of the disciples after Jesus announces that one of the disciples will betray him. And you can maybe see it a little bit in this picture, but there are varying degrees of emotions from shock to anger among the disciples. You see some of them are, they're like looking at each other like, what is he talking about? And the others are kind of like looking at Jesus like, what are you talking about? And so this is probably the way we picture the Last Supper based on this painting. But one thing that I learned that really in antiquity, that really that it was not a long table, that what it was a table that set low to the ground. It's U-shaped, but it's the upside down U-shape, and it has three sides to it. It's called a triclinium, and that the people are not sitting in chairs, they're reclining on cushions. And you can see the cushions here in this picture. And you can see how low the table is to the ground. The guests would lie on their left side. And so that means their head is towards the table, and then their feet are away from the table, and then they eat with their right hand. So that was something very interesting to learn about the way that the table would have been set at that time. Another interesting thing is about the seating arrangement, seating chart. There, as I said, there are three sections. Here on the left, the lectus imus is the lowest in position. The lectus medius, the next highest, and then the highest position is the lectus summa. The host normally sets on that left side, the lectus imus, the lowest, and that's the lowest couch. And so it's reserved for the host, the host's wife, and a family member. In this case, Jesus, the host, and sitting here in this position, and then he has John on his, which would be his right, and Judas at his left. And then the other disciples arranged around the table. And then it's thought that Peter was here on the lectus summa, which would have been the highest position across from Jesus. So that's a very interesting thing that I learned about that.
Do you know why they had different levels?
It was it was like the way that they set it up, but why they had it in the levels, I kind of think that it was maybe because your guests would be considered of higher honor.
Oh,
That the host would be considered, would take the lower position. So I believe this is the reason why it is set that way.
Oh, okay.
But that the guests would really have the highest position. Sort of like, I guess, sitting, the place of honor is the head of the table. So I would think, yeah. So now I'd like to get into the reading of chapter 22, verses 1 through 27. What I have up here is the new Revised Standard Version updated edition. And I know that we tend to use other versions, and people can read what version that they would like to contribute. So I think what I'd like to do is, I have this divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what I'd like to do is give you all would take a section and then read in whatever version that you would like. That would be wonderful.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then just let us know what version you're reading.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll start with the New Revised Standard Version, updated edition. The plot to kill Jesus. Now the festival of unleavened bread, which is called the Passover, was near. The chief priests and the scribes were looking for a way to put Jesus to death, for they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered into Judas, called Iscariot, who was one of the 12. He went away and conferred with the chief priests and officers of the temple police about how he might betray him, meaning Jesus, to them. They were greatly pleased and agreed to give him money. So he consented and began to look for an opportunity to betray him to them when no crowd was present. We'll go from 7 to 13.
I can do that. The preparation of the Passover. Then came the day of unleavened bread on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. So Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and prepare the Passover meal for us that we may eat it." They asked him, "Where do you want us to make preparations for it?" "Listen," he said to them, "when you have entered the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him into the house he enters and say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks you, where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover? Where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large room upstairs, already furnished. Make preparations for us there." So they went and found everything as he had told them, and they prepared the Passover meal.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'll read that one. This is coming from the Message Bible. They left, found everything just as he told them, and prepared the Passover meal. Okay. When it was time, he sat down all the apostles with him and said, You've no idea how much I look forward to eating this Passover meal with you before I enter my time of suffering. It is the last one I will eat until we all eat it together in the kingdom of God. Take the cup. He blessed it, then said, Take this and pass this among you. As for me, I will not drink wine again until the kingdom of God arrives. Take the bread. He blessed it, broke it, and gave it to them. This is my body, given for you. Eat this in my memory.
Next, would anyone like to take this? Okay.
And he did the same with the cup after supper, saying, "This cup that is poured out for you is the new covenant in my blood. But see, the one who betrays me is with me, and his hand is on the table. For the Son of Man is going as it has been determined. But woe to that one by whom he is betrayed." Then they began to ask one another which of them it could be who would do this.
Would anyone else like to take this last part?
I will. Message Bible. Get ready for trouble. Within minutes, they were bickering over, Within minutes, they were bickering over who of them would end up the greatest. But Jesus intervened. Kings like to throw their weight around, and people in authority like to give themselves a fancy title. It is not given to be that way with you. Let the senior among you become like the junior. The leader act the part of the servant. Who would you rather be? The one who eats the dinner or the one who serves the dinner? You'd rather eat and be served, right? But I take my place among you as the one who serves, and you're stuck with me through thick and thin. Now I confer on you the royal authority my father confers on me, so you can eat and drink at my table in the kingdom and be strengthened as you take up the responsibility among the congregation of God's people.
Okay, Dale, can you read? I think it's 27.
Right there, for who is greater?
Mhm.
Who is the greater? The one who is at the table or the one who serves? It is not the one at the table, but I am among you as one who serves.
From your version,
Okay,
please.
sure. 27. Who would you rather be? The one who eats the dinner or the one who serves the dinner? You'd rather eat and be served, right? But I've taken my place among you as the one who serves, and you're with me
You had it over
thick
there.
and thin. Now I confer on you the
Did you take it
royal
upstairs?
authority. My Father confers on me so you can eat and drink at the table in my
Oh, we
kingdom
took it
and be
upstairs.
strengthened as you've
Jackie,
taken up responsibility among the congregation of God's people.
Okay, great. Thank you all. So, what I'd like to do is to focus our discussion about the themes of power and humility around the questions. How do you imagine that conversation at the table went when Jesus tells them that one of them is about to betray him? And then how do you imagine the conversation at the table when the disciples asked Jesus, well, about the whole thing about who's going to be the greatest? And what do you think their motives were in asking that? And then how did Jesus embody both power and humility? And so I'm going to stop share so I can see y'all. Okay. So, hi, Clara. Hi, Elaine. And hi, Terry. I saw you come in before, and I wasn't sure if you heard me speak. All right. So, what do you guys think? Imagine how that conversation went when Jesus is like, one of you all are going to betray me. I mean, you imagine you're sitting at a family dinner, you're at Thanksgiving dinner, and then somebody lays kind of like we'll say a bombshell. Somebody throws a bombshell out there and makes a comment, and everybody is just kind of like, what?
uh-huh.
What are you talking about? This is what I kind of pictured a little bit. That that how this unexpectedly came out in the meal. I mean, what do you guys think that how that might have went? I mean, it doesn't tell us really what was said, but what do you imagine what they might have thought?
I was thinking that, if it had been my family, they'd be like, well, just go ahead and say, who is it? Go ahead and spell it out. Just spell it. Who is it? Stop beating around the bush.
Right.
If you know, then just say it.
Just say it.
Say it.
Yeah, I would think that Judy said, oh, wow, I thought I was making plans in secret. How in the world did he know? So I think he had to act like, I'm just going to be surprised as everybody else. I know who it is who is going to betray, but I'm going to go along with everybody else who is in shock.
Right. What? Not me. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't betray you. And Judas is sitting there like, I'm not saying.
Yeah, no, it's he was playing the trumpet. Yeah. Oh no, I'm right there with you. I wouldn't do that to you. selling them down the lane.
Exactly. I mean, I can just imagine just how they, just all the different things, they might have felt like. Were they mad because it's like, well, who in the world betrayed Jesus? Wait a minute, and or like, oh, were they?
They might have thought he had too much wine.
That's true, Elaine. I
That
never
was
thought
tripping
of
at the
it that
time.
way.
Ain't nobody serious right now.
Were they hurt? Did their feelings get hurt? Like, that's Jesus saying that, one of us might do that. I mean, it's just amazing just to think about all of these things. And also the fact behind all this. Now, after we've said this and we've been wondering what's going on and who is it? And then, and then we had our meal and we broke bread and everything. And then why in the world did the conversation then turn to who's going to be the greatest? Who's going to be greater? After we just had this beautiful moment. And now you turn to, well, I should be first. I should be, Jesus loves me more. I'm his right-hand man, or, I was there. I was the first one chosen, or this, that, just all this conversation. What do you guys think that maybe the conversation was like when they got to talking about who should have been the greatest?
I think maybe they certainly would have had those thoughts, but I don't know that they would have said that, you know what I mean? I think that they would have hoped that they would have been the greatest, because, people want to be recognized without asking for it. So, yeah, I think that when people want recognition, they do so, inwardly, and in hopes that they will be, seen as the greatest, or that they're seen as the important one, or the person who everybody looks up to, or who gets the accolades or whatever. But you don't ask for it because you don't want to come across as needy, or that you're being narcissistic or anything like that. So you just kind of keep it to yourself. So I think they certainly thought, I think that they might have certainly thought it, but maybe not have said it. But you're right. I think they would have thought that.
I think that when you were reading it, when you read the section from Luke, I was still thinking about how you were showing the seating arrangement. And last week when we were talking about, having the people there already understood the customs.
Right.
And I'm speaking, and I know my friend can hear me. It depends on the family. If it was Vanessa's family and it rolled like that and friends were over, it might be different than my family or somebody else's family. But everybody would have been familiar with the dinner and the arrangement, and certainly Passover. And I think the big shock, kind of like what Kathy was saying, was, Jesus is saying very calmly, someone here is going to betray me. And oh, by the way, I'm leaving.
Right.
I'm not going to be here. You guys can figure it out. We're going to have our traditional meal. And the other thing that would have been maybe unusual that they weren't expecting was that Jesus was really calm about, one of y'all are in here, betrayed me. I know who it is. I ain't saying, and we're not going to rumble. And oh, by the way, I'm leaving. And I think this whole notion that people are going to have to deal with it without him being there. Whatever leadership or modeling he's providing, I'm going to show you how I want it to roll. And I think that's the whole introduction. And maybe I never heard it this way before, but that the people who are serving, and remember when you were showing the U-shaped? that would have been common knowledge to people at that time, but the
Right.
people who were serving would be considered lower. And so what Jesus was saying is that when I'm not here, the people who serve you will be the leaders. They'll be great. They'll be important because they're doing what needs to be done, even though I'm not here. Even though, I mean, he didn't see himself as divine. He's just saying, I'm not here. I'm here to do my Father's business. I'm going to leave. And so now you're going to have to look at your servants differently. I mean, that's really profound. I mean, the whole idea about the Last Supper. And I'm not being funny, but we have a lot going on here right now, and how I think Vanessa's family had the Last Supper earlier today. And I just left, some gatherings with my family, and it could have gone real differently. It could have gone really. I mean, there are people who, once you said somebody's going to betray me, that would have been the end of the meal right there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And pull out some weapons and act stupid and pull down their pants and no, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I'm very serious.
Mm-hmm.
There would have been no more lamb and Passover and none of that. That would have been the end of it.
Yeah, the fight would have broke out.
Hey,
Dishes would have been thrown and food thrown and
or
fist fights and
Kathy would have gone to the bathroom and never came back. Who's supposed to make the rice? What happened to the salad? She took her kale salad and left. I mean, it's just this is deep. This is a whole new level of deep on the Last Supper.
I mean, and they have to figure things out because Jesus is not going to be there. They have to figure out who's going to take care of this, who's going to take care of that.
Yeah.
Who's going to do? How are we going to divide up to go out to the people and teaching and to the people and everything and healing and all of that, whereas they kind of just relied on Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's a question I'm not sure of. Okay, Jesus, got betrayed. He went away. Did disciples ever really find out that it was Judas that rolled over on them? That's never been clear to me through the story. Like, yeah, old boy rolled over, and did they isolate him or they went after him? I've never known that for sure.
Because I remember that it was that he had, basically, I forgot which gospel it is, but that, when they come to the garden and and the soldiers and they come and then he goes over and he gives Jesus a kiss, and that's the signal. But whether they actually.
Now, Veronica's not here to give us the word, but my memory too is that it depends on who you ask, when they were asked, and how far in the future it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Joanne is correct that once that sign was given, his cover was blown.
Okay.
And he also felt guilt, like maybe this really wasn't worth what I did at the time. I think it would be that.
Yeah, I knew he felt guilty and all that. I mean, the cat was out of the bag at that point.
Right, but who wrote about it came many, many, years or decades later, and depends on who you're asking. And the other thing about rolling over and who was betrayed, I mean, but by the time they were talking about it, Jesus had been betrayed by so many people, so many times. I think that the story about how you're betrayed by people that you love and you care about and you thought were your family or your friends, that's a recurring theme. And I suspect, when you were saying about the back to the picture, when I think about the Last Supper, I do think about that picture, but I never knew that that picture was in the refectory at a convent. So no one would have seen that. Everybody's idea about the Last Supper would have been what they would know to be true for the Passover meal. So whose advantage would it be to see Jesus in the middle of the table like that when it was more than likely that it never happened that way? So that's the other deep thing.
Right.
The
I found
convent,
it
who
interesting.
paid for that painting? Because the person who paid for the painting is wants to.
Had an idea of what they.
Hey, that's the first version of AI. That's it is. That's deep fake.
Yeah, you're right.
That's deep fake. Wow.
And just to think about, in fact, Jesus knew, he knew, and he still sat there and still treated them all with love, even though he knew. He sat there and broke bread with all of them, even though he knew. He called it out, but he didn't say who, but he called it out, but he didn't say who. But just just to know, like, what, the fact that and you know your destiny, you know what is going to happen, but you keep going. And the fact that he kept going and he had to go through all this because it was what was to be.
Mhm.
But the fact that, Jesus spent all that, the time telling them, and the only thing they can think about is, well, which one of us is going to be number one? And, that's a lot of ego,
Mhm.
Right.
that's a lot of ego.
So in the Gospel of John, and when there wasn't a meal, right? He just washed the disciples' feet.
They had the meal, and as a part of the meal, then
he washed the
He
feet.
washed the feet.
washed their feet, and then had several conversations with them about what to do and how to treat people and all the things, teach them more of what was to be expected. But it's just interesting that the foot washing is not included in all the gospels,
all the other
Mhm.
gospels. But I was just thinking how deep even that is, even deeper. That,
exactly.
He knew and still washed his feet. Like that is very, very, that is a lesson in humility for sure.
Mhm.
One that
talk about the shift in the power dynamic. This whole idea that you would be angry. I mean, really, really angry, or feel like somebody dissed you, disrespected you, and I'm gonna expect you to sit here, play nice, wash some people's feet, behave. I mean, that's huge.
Yes,
it's just huge. And I again, without the details about what's going on in my life or what's going on in everybody's life, if you think about all the times that you were angry in the last few days, maybe you're watching TV, maybe somebody said they were going to do something and they didn't do it. To have anger and to still come at them with a kind, compassionate word, especially when mommy and daddy are not going to be there. How we want this. This is the expectation that we have for you about how you're going to behave.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm making it clear, y'all. This is how I want it to be.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's That's
and that
amazing.
and the
Amazing.
fact that taking the position of having a servant's heart, of being a leader, but still being able to take the position of the servant, of the server, to having that servant's heart. How many people can really, how many people really do that?
Mm.
How many people really
I
do
think
that?
it's easier for me to do it with family. But what I mean is
Mhm.
that, we had a big family, and, we were always taught, no matter what, you always look out for each other,
Mhm.
and like no other. It doesn't matter how mad you are. You always look out for each other. And to this day, we do that. Even as bad as they get on my nerves, I still are going to look out for my family. But and so I find that I'm more forgiving with family, because I remember what I was taught. But outside of my family, if I feel like someone is angry, or I've been wronged, it's hard for me to have a heart of service, because now I feel like I have to be in defense. I have to be in the defensive mode. So I can't have a heart of service and defend myself.
Mhm.
So, because one, it's like, it's like they always say, you can't pray inward. It doesn't, it doesn't
Right.
work. And so I can't have this humble serving heart and be defensive. So I'm going to have to choose my weapon, so to speak.
Mhm.
And, I hate to say that, I'll choose being defensive, because I'm not quite sure what you're coming with. So, I mean, Jesus, that is really a lesson in humility, and it really, 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 really makes me think.
Mhm.
Well, when you were
Yeah.
saying that and you defined family, you know, like my mom would say, you know how your brother is, take care of your brother. Do this, do that. There were expectations. But if you've been in a family where the family is the source of the betrayal,
Mm,
the
mm,
both of my grandmothers were raised by other people.
mm,
And for whatever reason, their family of origin, was no picnic. And they both said in different words, but I didn't understand until I was a grandmother, just because someone's your family doesn't mean they're your kin.
Mhm.
yes.
Ah, what does that mean?
Mhm.
And so um,
Yes, indeed.
how people handle stressful situations um, is very different in different families, and I suspect we're, there's a lot going on, but there's a lot of funeral planning and who will go and whose fault it is and who tells who and da 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 da.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I witnessed today was people assumptions about who would do what, and 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 how people were trying to do it differently. You know what I mean? Like trying to do it differently, but didn't really know how. And how do you show up for people? How do you be kind to a person when you don't really have, um, not only do you not have a role model for doing that, but you can see how, like you said, this is my family. They're supposed to be nice to me. But we all know here that they've been shitty for the last 25 years.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I got some
Yeah.
cousins and stuff in my family that I wouldn't trust further than I see them. They do a 5-finger discount on you as quick as they look at you. and I got other family that, I'm much closer to. And so my mom would say the ones that likes the 5-finger discount, you handle with a long handle spoon. They still your family, you do whatever you can for them, but you do it at a distance because, they don't have any boundaries.
Yeah. And the thing about I know what you mean about the 5-figure. I mean, there are some people in your family, they would come to your door. Y'all don't have to answer, but they would not get in. Okay. And the next day we were talking about Mary and Joseph. Which one are we? Bible study, we talking about Mary and Joseph at the door. They need a place to stay. And some of y'all know y'all say y'all can't stay here. I know where you could go to Motel 6. You're not coming in my house, not eating my food. And we were laughing about it, but all of us know I'm looking at you through the peephole and you ain't coming in here. Boy, are you kidding me? And then there are other people that invoke in you this kindness. But I wanted to say, and maybe this is confession on my part. I think if I have time to think about it the day after, someone that I'm really angry at, I need a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
No, really, I
Yeah.
really need a day or two before I can, kind of pull it off, and I know that, yes, this is what this is what a pastoral care minister would do.
I feel you in that way.
Not today, Wednesday, baby. Tuesday? And I've been up since 1:30? Oh, hell no.
Wow.
And I'm not saying hell no, I'm just saying, my stomach hurts, I'm tired. I'm giving every
Everything you got.
every excuse that I possibly could have. And it's not like the confession group, but I'm just saying I may not be able to pull off kindness and compassion at a certain moment because I know what happened the last time we did this.
Mm-hmm. Didn't end well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm still burnt. I'm still burnt from the last time you burnt me.
Yes. Yes.
That is in our humanness. I mean,
Yeah.
it's natural. That is natural that we're going to feel that way.
Yeah, it makes you cautious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What they say?
Naturally.
Fool me. Was it fool me once?
Shame on me.
Yeah. Fool me twice. Shame on. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. But I get it.
I'm with you, Jackie. It would be a hard pass. I had to walk away, count the 200 and everything, because it's like, no, but that's what grace is all about. It takes you a minute before you can get to the point of grace. But in the immediate instant, like with Jesus knowing that, with Judas, man, look, it'd have been hard for me to walk up there.
That's right.
I better put his foot in his mouth, here.
And I'm a shut down queen. I'll shut down on your ass real quick. Real quick.
Yeah, I look at Judas and I wonder after Jesus said that and he knew that Jesus knew, did he even think about going back then to change his mind? I know God had things willed to act a certain way, but from what I can understand, what I read, he didn't have a conscience until after the fact when he tried to give the silver back. But then the deed was done.
Right.
Right.
Well, after Jesus had washed his feet and fed him and everything, I guess he did feel bad. I would feel bad too. I'm like, his brother done washed my feet. He gave me bread and wine. And I'm about to get him, man, that's a guilt.
And look, and Jesus didn't rat him out in front of the others.
Right. Yeah, right.
Like, woo.
And the thing with the whole donkey, the colt, we know how the week ends. We know all of that. But part of this story is the old order is going to fade. They're going down. And we're in this in-between transitional liminal space. There's going to be a new order, a new king. It's going to be upside down. Can y'all just call me when it's all straightened out?
Right.
They have to go out there.
Maybe that's why I didn't get invited to the meal today. It's Tuesday. She might have Bible study, and her stomach, yes, and to make sure, maybe we better take her car, babe. I need your car today. You sit right here.
Jay, you're a mess, girl.
This is like a little too real. Miss Joanne, birthday elder. Now you 61, you playing this now. This is deep. This is deep right here.
It is very deep. And it brings up a lot of emotions.
With slides. She had to do it with slides too.
I had to jazz it up a little bit.
With the pictures. With the pictures.
I gotta put those 3.5, almost 4 years worth of education.
The education in there, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. But I think too, the idea, and maybe this is just mean on Jesus' part, like, I'm not gonna be here. Y'all figure it out.
That's why I asked if they figured out at the end that they have a clue it was Judas. And like, hey, we ain't trusting that joker. She just rolled over on our leader. What will he do with us? Who will he turn us into? Because at that time they trying to get rid of anybody who's going to continue the message that Jesus was talking and wanting them to do. So he gonna roll over on me. Did they plot to get him because of what he did?
Yeah.
Did anybody ever think in terms of what Jesus did was very gangster?
I guess so.
Yeah,
that way.
I mean, think about it. You think you look at the gangsters from Chicago, New York, or whatever. What leader would sit up there in front of his crew and say something like that without knowing that somebody's gonna try to take somebody out, and it won't be him?
Yeah.
What he did was very gangster to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Think about the Godfather. Oh, God.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Godfather,
I know who you are.
Italy, Mississippi.
That's right.
People from Mississippi and Alabama don't play that shit. I'm not joking. I'm from New York. I don't get it. I really don't get it. They do not play that. And the other thing that's been really interesting, and I know Elaine didn't mean to be funny. There are things that happen that you can't go back from. That changes your family tree. It changes your family.
All the dynamics, everything.
Yeah, forever.
Mm-hmm.
And this incident that I'm thinking about, the person was said last night, I didn't know that that's what was going to happen. You know what I mean? It's like my intent was not, back to Judas or whatever. You're just doing what you always do. You're not thinking about, Vanessa says, consequences and repercussion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because when you're in that situation, you're thinking about whatever it is you're thinking about. You're not thinking about how other people would be impacted or what you would say. Or y'all know I love T.D. Jakes. Okay, T.D. Jakes says, first time they say, if it was me, he said, you could just stop listening right there. just anything they say after that, just throw it out your mind. Number one, it's not them. God wasn't talking to them. God was talking to you. And then you're going to have the audacity to come and give you your opinion about what you should do? Are you kidding me? And I always think about it because people say, well, you should have done this. And if you hadn't done that, and well, person's gone now. You coming to the funeral or you not? No, you don't want to come? You ain't talked to them in 20 years? Do you want to start now? But I do think that the way Jesus tells the story, when you look in the Bible and the part that they have, the part that's in red, that they attribute Jesus saying certain things.
Yeah.
If that's true, if that is true in the telling 50, 60, 100 years later, that this is what Jesus said, don't you all wonder how was it that they kept hold of that? I mean, to me, that's what's really, not only am I not going to be here, I told y'all. And so, 100 years later, 500 years later, now 2,000 years later, we're sitting here talking about what Jesus said. I mean, that's incredible. I don't know if I can say that, discipleship in the way that we talk about it today is really true. But I can say that some of the things that are attributed to what Jesus said really do afford you more peace.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's, so you messed up, you didn't do X, Y, and Z. Tomorrow's Wednesday is coming. Okay, so on Wednesday, what will you do different that will change your family tree forever? Will you give it a try? Would you be willing? Who's it Peter that cuts off the ear? And he says, me? No, I want me to cut. I didn't cut nobody's ear off. No. Mistaken. That's gangster. That is really gangster.
And he denied Jesus
3 times.
Okay.
3 times.
And Jesus said, I'm gonna make him the head of the church. Oh my God. Are you freaking kidding me? Really? The Pope gets up from his deathbed and says, Jesus, I can't come right now. J.D. Vance is now the authority on Christianity. Oh, hell no. Hey. Pope ain't said nothing for 6 weeks. Can't talk. He need a ventilator. He stepped out on the porch and said, don't listen to him.
Poor man, he was just traumatized.
He a baby Christian. He ain't been in the soup with us long enough to know what he's talking about. Him and his 4. Is he kidding me? Did he see who he's married to? I mean, the Pope talks so fast. He may just drop dead next week. But he said, I got to hold on till Easter, and I got to tell him J.D. Vance is not the authority on Catholicism.
He can't even pick up a trophy, right?
You wrong for that.
We wrong for saying that. But that just cracked me. You listening to who? And really, this is, like I said, this is AI. That's fake news. You mean the table didn't really look like that?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Unleavened bread is a fat, tasteless cracker.
Well, y'all, we are at.
That went fast.
Well, you messed this up. You messed this up real good. Thank you, Joanne.
And I guess we're going to have to say good night. But I hope that we all took something away from this session.
Oh, we took something away, all right.
I took away more than what I really thought. I mean, it's like, whoa, okay. Just listen to you all's contributions. It's like, gave me a little more to think about.
Not invited to my car and my car keys. Let my alone.
You guys, That's one thing I like about this Bible study. I have never, I am learning about the Bible in ways I never even dreamt about. I would tell you, I was telling a friend of mine, I said, you need to sit in on our Bible study.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
fun.
a little plug.
Yeah.
We have invite your friends and family and join us, you guys, for Holy Week service, Holy Thursday and Good Friday service, 7 p.m. each day. It will be online in Zoom, and
Okay.
check your e-blast or the calendar and all that good stuff to get the
Right.
link.
The link is
It's
in
not in
both
person.
places.
Not in person.
Not in
So
person.
it will not be live stream. We will be
Oh, okay.
right. So you'll have
Gotcha.
to actually come into Zoom.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And it promises to be a very moving experience. So I hope that you all can join us from the comfort of your home, and as we continue on this journey to the cross. And then
And then,
Yeah.
Man,
right.
Okay,
yes.
I got just one plug myself. Sharon, can everybody see? Coming soon. This is our next adventure. It's a book on devotionals. It's a real thin read. The chapters are short, and if you want to get it, it's on Amazon. So that I'll have a range of small chapters assigned, and the person who's assigned to it um, can then just pick a few of the devotions to have a discussion about. I think that they're very thoughtful. They're specific to our community, and will just give you a different view, of the Bible and of our community.
So this will start not next week, the week after.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And again, it's just, I'll say, hey, chapters 1 through 10, which is about, like I said, one page or two. You pick 2 or 3 that maybe jump out at you, and maybe email that out, say, hey, we're going to take a look at these 3 devotionals, and we'll have a discussion around those 3.
Dale, thank you for all the great pictures that were out. I don't know if you did all of those that were out on Sunday, but those pictures were great.
Yeah, but between me and Joanna, I kept uploading them. She kept posting them.
Okay.
Yeah,
It was a
wonderful.
teamwork make dream work.
Yeah.
Click here, click there.
I was like, wow, look how far we've come.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, thank you. And then when I saw 415 M Street, I said, that's where I started.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
April the 17th is the 60th anniversary of gay people protesting in front of the White House, and they're going to be doing it this April 17th, 1965. It'll be right before our service. And I know we're about ready to close out in prayer, but I would like to lift up in prayer those people, Judas and all those other people that did stuff that they thought was unforgivable, and God didn't know. God knew. God knew before you entered your mother's womb that you would do stuff, that you would not be invited to the Seder. and that there is no mercy and unconditional love that will support you through your grief and your heartache. And you, not only are you forgiven, but God knew. Please don't blame yourself. You're here to offer love and compassion and a kind word, even though you think that you don't deserve it.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you, Joanne.
And may
Thank
we
you, Joanne.
find the in between the power and the humility that we find that God meets us right there, both ends and in the middle of those opposing dynamics. Thank you all so much.
Thank
for
you,
the
Jonas.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. I'm like, woo, we made it.
Woohoo, we made it.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
did it.
Good night.
Good night,
night.
Good
everybody.
night.
Bye.
All right then.
Going out in a minute.
My